think a lot of people stayed out on Florida State because they were 25-1 to win the ACC at one point this summer. But after that huge win over Alabama on Saturday, they are down to 12-1 to win the ACC and still almost 5-1 at BetMGM, plus 475 to make the college football playoff. And Miami, for that matter, plus 375 to win the ACC, now a little less than 2-1 to make the playoff. It feels like the ACC, I know it's 1 week, but Clemson lost as well at home to LSU, who traditionally under Brian Kelly does not handle openers well. But it feels like the ACC is now wide open. And in particular, again, as I look at some of these futures bets, because conference championships maybe don't mean as much in the 12-team playoff era, I look at some of these to make the playoff bets, and I still see a ton of opportunity. And Florida State is right there for me at the top of the list, almost 5-1 to make the playoff. When you look at the rest of their ACC schedule, when you look at the way they handled Alabama this past weekend, I'm feeling really good about the Noles.
I'm right there with you, Chris. Plus 475 to make the playoff.
Yeah.
We knew they weren't going to go 2-10 again this year. Like going into the season, even if there were some issues late in the summer, leading into the start of the season, like this is not a team that's going to go 2-10 again. So I think they still have some work to do to be one of the top teams in the ACC, but this ACC feels more wide open than it was heading into week one based on the performances we saw. So I like that bet. I like Miami. I really liked what I saw from Miami last night. I'm not finding there to make the playoff on BetMGM right now, which I'm sure it's probably.
Yeah, I checked this morning. It was up at plus 170. They may still be adjusting that number based on the fact that they just played last night, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think Miami could be a good bet there, or at least a good bet to win the ACC, plus 375. Clemson's come down a little bit, but Double D said he's still out on the Noles. Why, David?
Their quarterback. I don't trust their quarterback at all. At all.
Not a fan of Tommy Castellanos.
When you make Bill O'Brien mad enough to go, get out of my university, there are bigger issues. I think it takes one bad game for him. I think he's a head case waiting to happen, to be quite honest. And it takes one bad game for him to completely melt down and have that whole team just be like, what is this?
I liked what I saw from Castellanos this past weekend.
Were we watching
because
the same
everything
game,
went his way. Everything went his way. Ungodly bad conditions with rain. They could do no wrong. They got the stadium behind them early with Bert Kreischer hyping everybody up. I mean, it was just one of those. I think it was just a bad game from a green quarterback for Alabama who FSU's defense is good. I'll give them that. But I don't trust Tommy as far as I can throw him, and trust me, it ain't that far. I ain't that big.
I think this is what we're going to see in reaction to week one, Kate, and I think this is a microcosm of what we'll see from a lot of these games, is that some teams or I should say some fans are going to look at teams and say, was it the fact that they won or was it the fact that the other team lost? It's a good point Double D makes about Ty Simpson not looking the part for Alabama in week one, looking like an inexperienced starting quarterback. This is one of those spots, though, where I go, nope, that backs up everything I thought about FSU coming into this season. And sure, it pushes me away from Alabama and what I thought about them at the beginning of the year. But this is one of those things, and you'll see it with the Clemson LSU outcome, too. I think a lot of people will go, I knew Dabo was, nope, Clemson, nope, Klubnik's not ready. And other people will go, nope, this is it. LSU's defense is ready for prime time, and they've got arguably the best quarterback in the country. I think a lot of this has to do with the perspective and the prism that you look at some of these big week one games and outcomes through.
Well, I have a question for Double D again then. If you are thinking that Alabama, just a green quarterback, a lot of mistakes made, like, are you in on them for the season? Are you in on them to win the SEC? Are you in on them to make the college football playoff? Or are they still just kind of a meh team that had a meh performance but doesn't have a super high ceiling?
I think DeBoer is going to do his darndest to get them into the college football playoff, but that SEC is so stacked. Like, we haven't even talked about Florida and DJ Lagway. I mean, there's Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. Like, Georgia's always Georgia. I'm sure Arch is going to figure it out. But, ladies and gentlemen, Arch Manning is not the second coming of Jesus Christ. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. He's an actual quarterback who has taken started 2 games and got confused by a unbelievably crazy defensive scheme against him. I think there's so much in the SEC. I'm not going to sit here and say that Bama can make the college football playoff, but I wouldn't be surprised that DeBoer figures it out and they get there.
In Jesus' defense, in that robe and those sandals, he couldn't scramble very much. Double D. Alabama is now plus 180 to make the playoffs, minus 235 to miss the playoffs. So, again, depending on the perspective you're looking at it from and the prism that you view these week 1 outcomes through, you could look at it and say, everything I thought about Alabama got proven right this weekend. DeBoer's not ready for it. They've got a second-tier quarterback in an SEC where it feels like half a dozen teams have top-tier quarterbacks, and I'm out on the Tide, in which case you're probably not making money on a miss-the-playoff bet. But conversely, if you think that was a glitch, that was a blip on the radar for Bama, and DeBoer's going to get it together from here on out, you got a chance to make some money, Kate, at plus 180 to make the playoffs.
That's the question here. Like, we talked about this Alabama team early on in the show to kick things off, and I mentioned effort. Like, the effort wasn't there for Alabama. The urgency wasn't there in that game. That can change. Like, that can be coached, I guess, a little bit more. Maybe DeBoer needs to coach them harder, but like, it's not that the talent isn't there for Alabama. They're a super talented team. They just didn't play hard. They didn't play up to Alabama standards. If DeBoer can turn that around for the rest of the season going forward, then I think Alabama could be a playoff team, but that's the biggest question mark because you never had those questions under Nick Saban at all. We're having them quite a bit under Kellen DeBoer. So yeah, if I had to bet one side or the other on Alabama, I would bet them plus 185 to make the playoffs, just assuming that those types of issues can be fixed.